Buenas tardes con todos. Quiero agradecerles su presencia aquí y tengo el gusto y el honor de presentarles a ustedes a Karen Dixon, quien es una experta de más de 10 años de trabajo en mercados de lujo a nivel turístico y a nivel mercadológico. Ella realiza periodismo de viajes de lujo, así también como consultorías y training para todo lo que es servicios de lujo a nivel mundial. Entonces, el día de hoy la tenemos y es importante mencionar también que ella es parte de más de 10 años del American Academy of Hospitality Sciences y este momento se encuentra en Ecuador haciendo una gira y preparando este mercado de lujo para el mundo. Entonces, sin más, tengo el grado de presentarles a Karen Dixon. Un aplauso, por favor.
Muchas gracias. Y, quiero agradecer a ustedes por having me here. I suddenly am forgetting my Spanish. I'm actually here studying for a couple of weeks so that I can work more closely with groups like yourselves to speak about luxury and share my experiences all around the world. And just to begin with, I'm just a huge fan of Ecuador. I spend a lot of time here. I love the country. I'm discovering so much every time I come to visit. And I really am applauding so many of your industry here that is getting more and more involved in promoting the very, very best of Ecuador to the rest of the world. But before I begin, I will share a little bit about my experience and my travels through this video, and then we can start speaking about some of the potential aspects of your business here and what might help everyone move forward and go more toward an international luxurious position in the world. So we'll start with the video. Yes.
Durante los últimos 9 años, Karen Dixon ha sido miembro de la Junta Directiva de la Academia Americana de Ciencias de la Hospitalidad, la organización que otorga el prestigioso premio 5-Star Diamond a los más exclusivos hoteles, restaurantes y resorts alrededor del mundo. La Academia Americana ha concedido este premio a la excelencia desde 1949 y fue la primera organización internacional en promover la excelencia en viajes, gastronomía, productos y servicios de lujo. La Junta Directiva está compuesta por importantes líderes de la industria del turismo, personalidades célebres y otras figuras notables del sector del lujo. Jan-George von Gerichten, reconocido chef de celebridades. En 2007, la señora Dixon abrió el mercado de la Academia en América del Sur y actualmente visita la región con frecuencia. Se ha convertido en una reconocida inspectora internacional de estándares de hospitalidad de lujo, especializándose en la región de América Latina. Sus viajes alrededor del mundo la han puesto en contacto con los más famosos y talentosos chefs mundiales. Así como personalidades influyentes del turismo y la hospitalidad. La experiencia internacional de la señora Dixon, por vivir en regiones tan diversas como lo son América del Sur, China y Europa, le han otorgado una perspectiva global inigualable en lo que al turismo de lujo respecta. Actualmente contribuye en varias publicaciones internacionales sobre gastronomía y viajes, como New Western Cuisine, Caras y revista Horizontes Aviatur. Sus artículos también han aparecido en revista Avianca y en Star Diamond World. Recientemente fue condecorada con el ranking Chevalier du Monde de la prestigiosa Academia Culinaria Francesa, la organización que reconoce a los mejores chefs mundiales. Apasionada por el servicio personalizado, la señora Dixon trabaja directamente con los mejores hoteles para ayudarles a alcanzar y conservar los estándares internacionales, así como en la asesoría en marketing y posicionamiento de su imagen en el escenario mundial.
All right, so, the world of luxury has been my teacher almost 10 years now. And I just feel so much about what I've experienced and wanting to share that with all of you, because some of these images and experiences can seem so extravagant or so indulgent and something of another world. And in many cases they are. But what I found is some of those experiences can very much be distilled, and some of them can actually be brought to a much smaller level to really touch people's emotions when they're traveling. And in this day and age, right now, it's such a great opportunity for places like Ecuador, because luxury is always changing. And right now, it's about experiences, authentic and memorable experiences. So Ecuador can really kind of jump in that opportunity right now and provide what you have, the very, very best of what you have, and give people that feeling. So, I like to share the video because when you're watching it, whatever the feeling is, it elicits something when you see these beautiful places, or something that you're not used to seeing on a daily basis. And that's what travel is about, whatever level it is. But when we're speaking about luxury, we really want to tap into that extraordinary, unique experience. So today, and thank you again for including me, Carmen and Jolene and the rest of you here, because I know that these are important topics, and as business students, it's great to get different perspectives of how current tendencies and what's happening, trending in the world of travel. So who am I? As I mentioned to you, I'm a world traveler, luxury travel, lifestyle expert, traveling last 10 years, basically working on the board of trustees for this company that awards the best in luxury travel. In 2007, I had the opportunity to come here to Latin America, or South America particularly, and it was so exciting because there had not been one hotel or restaurant or anything that had been awarded by the 5-Star Diamond Award. So it was a completely new world, and I had to spend quite a bit of time understanding it and learning it and qualifying it, which standards are different in every part of the world, and we actually had to sort of come up with new ones that would reflect the level of luxury that you have here and on the whole continent in general. So during that time, I encountered many restaurants, many chefs, and we began with a thorough investigation throughout Ecuador, Colombia, a few years later in Peru, Argentina, Chile, and we found some of the very, very best. And to this day, I can say that there are still many of them that are thriving and providing wonderful service. A few, I believe, have had to close for whatever reason. But, La Viña Restaurant, Zazu here in Quito, La Park Hotel. We awarded Casa Sebo in Bahia de Caracas, and a bunch more, Alma Restaurant. And it was a real privilege because I had the chance to work closely with some of the chefs here that were rising through the ranks, and I know many of them now, like Carlos Gallardo. Several years ago, we awarded him with his launch of his book about Ecuadorian cuisine throughout the country, is really calling attention now to the country. So I'm so proud of them, and it's wonderful that they're able to do that. But, I still continue to look, and I find that it's still quite difficult to find the level of hospitality that could compete on an international level. Because when we're talking about a certain standard, we have to say that that particular restaurant or hotel could be in New York or Paris or wherever, Singapore. So there's a whole level of those international standards that have to be layered on it. And sometimes that's difficult to do in certain parts of the world. So, I want to talk to you a little bit more about, not necessarily the standards, but just what we can do about luxury so we can understand it. What is luxury? It's so many things, because every single one of you has a different idea of what luxury is. And if we have more time, it would be really fun to kind of ask you all and share, because we would come up with some different things about what we consider luxury, because it's our feeling of what would be necessarily something very, very special, very unique, something that would provide us with that feeling that we're talking about. What I like to do is go a little bit more deeper into the concepts of luxury so that everybody knows what that is. But in the interest of time, we're going to just talk about one facet of luxury because there's a lot. But one that really I think is quite universal is quality. Okay, quality consistently will come up as a unifying definition of luxury. Okay, and of course, when we think of quality, quality has depth. Quality means that there's lots of touch points. Touch points meaning lots of places where you're interacting with a product or service, and it feels high quality. It feels like it's substantial. It feels like it has something behind it, either a story or, perhaps again that feeling. You just know it. You know when you see quality. Okay, and that's, for the purpose of today, we'll use that definition for luxury. So, what is quality in Ecuador? And this was something that I had to really look at when I began my journey here almost 10 years ago to discover luxury here. And I had to kind of redefine what it is because the quality, what you have here is very, very much, for me, in nature. I've never experienced a place in the whole world where I could have so much variety of nature and have access to certain parts of that nature that perhaps in other parts of the world might be a little bit more restricted or difficult, I said access, difficult to get to, and the level of knowledge too that the people here have about the nature is incredible. And it's not just guides. I mean, I've been to some places where, just local people really appreciate what they have, and they're able to talk about it and show different plants or birds or animals and talk about this country with such passion and understanding that it's so moving. And I think to myself, this is the luxury. This is your luxury, your nature, and this is your treasure. And it's something that definitely needs to be guarded and maintained. It's a gift, right? So you never really had to invest in that, right? That's just something that it's a gift that you have. But I do think that going forward, your industry and your business is going to have to continue to look at ways, sustainable ways, to invest in maintaining that nature and guarding it, because it's such a gift. And I just can't say it enough. Being someone, who is always on the go and always sometimes looking just to connect with nature, and it's quite difficult in other parts of the world. Not here. It's amazing. So I applaud you for that. But the other aspect too is your resources with artisanal products. Now, I don't say it's across the board because we've all maybe had those experiences, and perhaps maybe in Otavalo, I don't want to single out a certain part of Ecuador, where I just am questioning some of the quality. We're going back to quality, and you interact with the product, and it just doesn't feel the way I would expect it to feel or want it to feel, even better. And I wonder, why there's some jewels, some great pieces of artifacts or clothing or different items mixed in with all the rest. As opposed to just really focusing on a limited production, a smaller amount of goods, but very, very high quality. Maybe it takes longer to produce, maybe it's harder to get, even better. If you want to go deeper into the world of luxury, that's actually in your benefit if it takes longer to produce and it's harder to obtain. But some of the products that I really have really struck out, like I think are incredibly amazing artisanal products, are your coffee. Okay, we know this, the chocolate, honey. I'm really intrigued by these herbal detox kits because wellness is very much a trend right now worldwide, especially in North America. There is a huge demand for trips or experiences that transform you, where you improve your health or your mental state, or you just feel happy, or you get away, and also kind of put a little extra touch on it. And these kind of kits and herbal remedies are very interesting when they're packaged a certain way, and you certainly have those plants and things here. I mean, the Panama hat, incredible. Just something very iconic, unfortunately with the wrong country's name before the item, but it's a story. It's a story that must be told, and it can definitely be worked in the favor of Ecuador, positioned properly. And when somebody has that really well-made Panama hat in their hand, or they put it on their head and they wear it, they're going to feel the difference in quality, and that's something that you can provide right here. Right in this country. And alpaca, this is a new product for me. I've encountered it throughout South America, but there have been a few places here where I've really been impressed with the quality that they're producing, and the styling, and the way that they're trying to use the product is very impressive. So this is just a few. I'm sure that if we talked more, you would be telling me about more products that I could discover, and I would be continually intrigued, because you have the resources here to make these products, and also the heritage. You have a lot of knowledge that just has not necessarily been tapped into or harnessed in a way that you can show the rest of the world what you have through these products. I was mentioning to someone the other day on the plane, on my way here, I was watching a movie called Barista. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but it's a documentary about coffee making. And it's about these people, they're called baristas, and they make coffee, in these high artisanal coffee manufacturing places, like in New York. Like Starbucks would be commercial and mass, but I don't even remember the name, but they're like these really specialized coffee shops. And these people are very dedicated to the taste of coffee and constantly trying to innovate. And there's this contest that they go to and compete. And one of the gentlemen in his presentation, he had like only 15 minutes, and he's talking, because this is a coffee from Ecuador. And I was like, yes, because it was associated with something of expertise, something of education, of fine knowledge, of a product, an in-depth knowledge. And then they mentioned Ecuador. No other country was mentioned. I didn't hear Guatemala, Colombia. I heard Ecuador. And I said, this is like a really good product placement. And I thought, this is a way to kind of associate with, among others, Ecuador being with high quality coffee and all of these products. So this is the question that I get asked the most, aside from what's my favorite place to go travel in the world. Please don't ask me that, because I can't decide. I love it, and it's so hard because there's so many beautiful places, and I'm just going to tell you it's Ecuador, because right now I'm spending a lot of time here. But what do I think you guys need to do, in seriousness, to get to the next level? You have so much, and I know in the last 5 to 10 years, there's been a lot of change, good change, a lot of good promotion. You're hearing more about Ecuador. More and more people, when I mention I'm coming here, recognize it. They know where it is. That's great, because I remember almost a decade ago that wasn't the case. But there are things that need to happen. If we're going to talk seriously about raising the levels of service, and raising levels to a greater, more luxury, and why? I want to backtrack. I'm sorry, I forgot to say, why would you even care about having luxury here? Because maybe some of you think, well, why do we even need that? What's the benefit? I think very straightforwardly, it's just it's more money. It's people get paid more. There's more offerings of services, so it's an incentive for everybody in their work for a better quality of life. Okay, there are a lot of world travelers. Luxury is just getting bigger. More wealth is increasing around the world. More and more people are having access to wealth, to travel, and they want to travel. That's what they want to do with their money. So I just want to make sure we understand that this is out there. So all we have to do here is just find a way that you can harness it and bring it here. And it really will help everybody across the board. So rather than renovate everything and just make everything of a certain level of luxury, you can bring those touches, okay? And one of the ways that I think Ecuador is sort of lagging behind a bit is in the capacitation, in the training, okay? And I know that this is something that will happen eventually and it'll go forward, but there has to be a lot more attention in the details and understanding the mentality of a demanding traveler who wants what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And, you know, nobody really wants to deal with someone who's difficult, but, you know, that traveler is a good traveler to have because you need a lot fewer of them than perhaps a big group that's backpackers, for instance, and they're going to pay, and they're probably going to tip and appreciate those services if they're delivered properly. So it's a good thing to be able to receive this type of traveler, and it has to do with capacitation. So, you know, this is just an observation. I know a lot of people probably would agree. We have to think how that can be done. I personally believe that you're lacking a luxury community, a community of luxury providers. In many cities, you have a base of hotels with a certain level of brand, like Mandarin Oriental or Four Seasons, Ritz-Carlton. You don't have that yet. So there has to be another way that can be achieved. Perhaps a group of stores like Prada or Louis Vuitton, you know, right away, right now, doesn't exist. But certainly want to find a way to bring them here. And I know that they make a lot of research with their risks of whether they should open a hotel or a store here. And a lot of that has to do, again, with economics and where the country is, and maybe really, really out of the general population's control. But for the part that we can control, in taking the responsibility, each and every person, whether it be a hotel or a store or wherever the guest goes, a taxi driver, because the vacation is not, we know, is not just the hotel, it's the destination. So that everybody knows their role in receiving the traveler. And I think that communication is really important. And I think the mentality of knowing the value of that is really important. And I also think that for those that already know this, because you do have a base of some great hotels, as I mentioned, the American Academy has actually awarded them. I know they are here. There's restaurants, there's lots of good services. But again, I think there has to be a review of the importance of concentrating in consistently executing that service. Too many times there is a mentality that it's a list, perhaps, of what I have to do, and when I finish that list, I'm done. My job's done. And you know, in the world of luxury travel and luxury services, it's sort of like a constant observation. It's like a way of being, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In some ways, you might feel like, oh gosh, why am I in this world? Because you'll be out for dinner and you'll start noticing like things aren't, in the proper place, or you'll be home and you'll say, well, that should be here and this, because it sort of makes you into a bit of a perfectionist. But in that sense, it's good because that's your mindset. Because when you're in that ambiance of luxury, everything has to be about the details and the consistency of executing them. I've heard many stories actually happen to me as well. I was in a certain hotel here, and I arrived late because the flights from the States come in, 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I arrive at the hotel, and I'm so tired, and I'm a world traveler, so occasionally I'll have my routine where I might want to cover the curtains a little extra or whatever. But I was so tired, I just fell asleep, and I was still adjusting to the altitude. And in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m, the alarm clock goes off, buzzing really loud. And I thought, God, this is such an amateur mistake, and I really haven't had it happen had it happen here twice. And, I know that these hotels have these lists and they know that they need to check the room and reset the room every day for a new guest. But yet, maybe someone forgot. But forgetting a thing like that, or forgetting any of those details, like not putting the right amount of towels, or not, imagine if you didn't make the bed, okay? I mean, there's cases I've been checked into a room and the bed was unmade. It happens. But these are things that people have to really know that that is not an error that can be made, because that's what defines you as a luxury hotel or a luxury service. That's the base. Okay, and then everything on top of it, and people make mistakes, and I've had many hotels say, well, what happens when you make a mistake? It's like, nothing, you made the mistake, but now you have to go apologize. Just make good on the mistake. Just make the client understand that it's okay, you made a mistake, you apologize, you make good on it, it all goes away. Now, a difficult client may or may not decide to talk about that mistake on social media or make it a bigger deal. But that's not something that you can control. But you can control if it happens. We're human beings. We make errors. Just make good on it. And they know that you have their back. It's kind of like, I don't know if you have that expression in Spanish, but it's like, someone is looking out for you. And that's really, really important in this level of service. And I think sometimes people know it, but they don't necessarily practice it day in and day out. So I just urge you to understand the importance of creating that luxury community the best that's possible, whether it be sharing best practices, talking about it in whatever format, making more education available in learning those details, seeking out experiences wherever you can, even as I mentioned with these products or nature, and trying to feel what it would be like to be a tourist. Because maybe, I live in New York City, I take for granted that, sometimes I look up at the buildings, I'm like, wow, I imagine what it would be like to be a tourist there, just to try to understand it. And I think that that's something we have to do. And also in understanding that whatever is the rules and regulations and standards that you have, that they need to be implemented all the time. This is a constant, day in, day out job. And hopefully we enjoy it while we're doing it. So some solutions. I picked these particular pictures because I thought, as I was thinking about this, something like this Panama hat. I was speaking with a gentleman from Manabí, and he works with a group, a local community, and practically lives with these people who weave these hats. And in some cases, they take years. And there's a particular few individuals that have been working in this craft for generations. And this gentleman is now working with them to take these products and bring them to Sotheby's. Do you guys know Sotheby's? Sotheby's is an auction house in New York, and it's an international art auction house where, you wouldn't go in there and look for a piece of art under, a few $100,000. And he wants to sell and auction these Panama hats in that environment. And I think he's going to find success. I really do. I think he already has many clients around the world who commission him to make these hats. And he does a real marvelous job in marketing them, providing a picture of the artisan and the story of his life and of the hat. And these are all really beautiful details that people appreciate. People who want that hat, who have the money to buy it, seek it out. So I liken it to something like Hermes, which is a well-known international luxury brand where the Birkin bag starts at $10,000, and you need to be on a special list. Even if you have the money to get it, you can't. They have a lot of demand, which they've really brilliantly created. But for some people, their luxury might be that particular hat. So imagine that. Ecuador might be on the verge of creating, an Hermes type brand in the future. Several years down the road. Again, we look at the woman on the beach getting her massage. We all wish we were there. it's sort of a universal image of luxury. But, there are people that would say, that's nice, did it, done it, but I would like to be on that canoe in the Amazon. And that picture, both pictures, elicit the same feeling for different people. Or maybe the same people. Maybe the person who can afford to travel every single place in the world has to be on that beach, and then a few months later is in that canoe in the Amazon. But for me, that's the massage on the beach of Ecuador. Okay. Then below you have Galapagos, which we don't have to. I mean, we know Galapagos is actually leading the way for tourism here in luxury. They really get it. I have been there just a couple times, and wow, I couldn't believe the level of expertise that I encountered. I think that's another conversation at times. I think some of the boats claim to be luxury, and maybe they don't have the standards, and I think that's dangerous when the guest gets there and they thought, oh, I thought I was taking a luxury boat, and it's not. Those are other topics, but in general, I think the destination within Ecuador is a great model, and also how they're working sustainably to not take too many tourists. They're really guarding the environment. And people know, I mean, even here, I know everyone has to pay an entrance fee, and tourists, luxury tourists know it's going to cost them a little bit more because the destination is a little bit more exclusive in the sense of access. Okay, and I think that's a great model that can be employed for other parts of Ecuador where you also want to protect this treasure that you have with nature. Okay, so just, before we wrap up, I want to share with you just 3 tips, something you can take away if you want to, understand how to best, work with levels of service and luxury. And my first one is to understand, learn, understand, embrace what your version of luxury is. Okay, we talked a little bit earlier. Again, I'm sorry we couldn't go deeper, but we talked about what, quality. If you appreciate quality, what is quality to you? What does that mean? If you're going to have a business and you want to attract a luxury clientele, it's very important that you know what quality is. And also important to know the other aspects of luxury. What is it that you think is amazing, the trip of a lifetime, the most incredible experience? How do you want to feel? Because when you get in touch with that and you really understand it, you are then going to be able to give that to your client. And not everybody's going to be your client. And that's okay, because you want the clients that appreciate what you're offering. As an example, if you want to open a coffee shop here, and you feel that luxury is something very refined, and you want to have, fancy chandeliers and marble and do that your way, that will work if that's what you really believe. Or maybe you want to take a different approach and do something a little bit more rustic. But it has to be from your heart. And I think that many times I find here that people like to copy one another because they see a success, which is great, because they say imitation is the best form of flattery. And I even have a quote there where I say, it's a little bit about writing your own rules, but copying, study the classics, learn about what other people are doing. Go and look at what they're doing, but don't copy it exactly. Make it what you think, because you're going to have a much better time and more success in the long term, big picture, if it's something that comes from you and it's yours. Okay, so also it's about creating, your version of luxury. Okay, I love this because this is obviously a teacup on top of a wine glass stem. And this is in a hotel in a very, very beautiful high-end hotel called the Dorchester in London. So we know London, their essence, they're taking a piece of their locality, is about, tea time, okay? And tea time is a very important tourist attraction in London throughout all levels of hospitality. But what they did here is they went in the bar and they made the tea a wine glass. And I just love the creativity, and I love that they're playing with the icons of their city, making something that's theirs. I'm sure it's copied somewhere else, but then they'll think of a new way to express that. And I just think it's something to appreciate. And maybe we're all not that clever and we don't have that marketing connection in our brains, but we can think of something. We can think of some way to not order a a wine glass out of a catalog. Maybe go to a local market, search out something different. Just try to bring the best of what you have to the experience. And then, the final one is the most important, and I'm sure I'm not the first person that you're hearing this from, 'cause it's quite universal, but it needs to be said 100 times over. You have to treat every client, and I don't care if it's like a guest for one night, or someone who walks into your business and asks about your services, or if you're a taxi driver and you're driving 3 blocks with that person. Okay? You need to treat them as if they were a king or a queen. Because that person, as we all know, has a mouth and has access to social media. And they are going to tell their friends, or they're going to go on social media and talk about it. They might take a picture of whatever is happening, and that is going to be out in the world. And that is the best opportunity to talk about you. Because word of mouth is the best form of promotion, of marketing. I know plenty of places. Of course, we all have to spend as business owners. When you do have your business, whether you have one or not, you're going to have to spend on marketing and public relations as part of the package. But the best form of that marketing is the personal experience, someone talking about you. So why lose that opportunity, right? Why lose the opportunity to develop a relationship with a person? And I say relationship, you know what I mean, like develop a point of contact, develop some type of memorable experience for them that they want to talk about, okay? It's very, very important, and this is a great way to do it, and it's cheap, it doesn't cost anything, and you can do it a lot. So I'll leave you with that. So these are just a lot of ways to reach me. We're all, all on the computer and my phone, but I'd love to be in touch with you. And you can share with me your social media as well, and we can continue the conversation. But at this point, I would like to open up the floor if anyone has any questions. I hope you do. Questions? Yes.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for your exposition. It was great and inspiring for all the students. And we are going to hear some questions.
Bueno, me interesa bastante todo esto del turismo de lujo, y mi pregunta es, ¿cómo puede involucrar el turismo comunitario como un producto de lujo?
Okay, right. So, again, I think if you have a product, okay, every product has the ability to go deeper into the quality, okay? So if you, for instance, coffee, okay, there's a whole range of coffee products that you can purchase on the market. So if you're with a product and you want to make it into a luxury position, I think it's first best to focus on the highest quality of that product. Now, sometimes you can't make the whole product luxury because coffee is a lot of things, but you can focus in if you have, let's say, a certain production of the coffee that's high quality. Focus on that and talk about it. Might be limited. It might not be available. It might be only available in certain parts of the world or whatever. But you guard it and you recognize that aspect of the quality and talk about that. Why? Why is it quality? Well, it's grown in a certain altitude or in shade or wherever. I mean, whatever the quality is, it's in expressing that. And I think, in the branding, that has to do with the branding, but throughout all these products, if we think about it, like your food, your gastronomy here, you can make those plates of very simple potato and cheese into something very magnificent with perhaps a different presentation or using a variety of a special potato that's only in a certain season. It's all about digging a bit deeper into the essence of it, because that's what's going to make it a luxury product. Finding that extra quality to it. Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Yes, Vamos a tener preguntas en español si quieren, and in English
Yeah,
too.
please,
We can
estoy
have some
practicando.
questions in English and Spanish, okay?
Hello, I have a question because Ecuador is a part of a society that is different from the luxury market. We are used to search for the cheapest options always, anytime, and our society has been like this hundreds of years. So how can we change to focus ourselves into a luxury market? I know we are competing worldwide. We have our own brands. I have friends that have come here, especially I have a friend from Switzerland, and he enjoys a lot of dishes, especially canelazo, which is only a naranjilla juice with
I
some,
love that. Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Yeah, and I was even talking to him to export it, but well, I was thinking of a good presentation for the product with a nice, really brand, so it can be like I don't know, a really luxury product for European market or maybe American market.
Sure.
But my question is, how can mainly on the cultural basis of the country, how can we make an improvement and adapt ourselves to a luxury market, and also how it can be part of our own culture?
Well, I get what you're saying, and it's kind of like you have to look for the best, the cheapest, or most economical solution often, especially when the country is passing through a difficult time. So, this is a necessity. So that you can't really change that if that's what's needed, right? But I think that there needs to be more appreciation of what you do have. Okay, so yeah, I mean maybe maybe, for example, I shop in the market for the cheapest price, but I know what the good stuff is. I can appreciate what something would really be. Maybe I don't have access to it as frequently, but if I'm really interested in doing something in the area of business with it, I should know. I should have some understanding of what it could be. Like we talked about in the other question, if you have any product has a whole range of what it could be. With the naranjilla, for example, I was at Pobre Diablo the other night, and someone explained to me, well, this isn't from the pulp. This is the pure juice. We do the pure, it was a story, and it made me appreciate it even more. Because for me, I was like, hey, it's a luxury just for me to have this, because I can't get this drink in New York. But that it was not the pulp. It was supernatural. It was, you can only, whatever it was great. I appreciated it more. And I think that's the idea when you're developing something, is to educate whoever's involved with creating the product, distributing the product, understanding it, is that it's something, it has a value, and it's okay that maybe not everybody is going to participate in it. It may not feasibly be possible. But if you want to be able to reach a certain audience, you're absolutely right. There has to be a good marketing around it. There has to be a very consistent execution, and that goes from everything from the communication to the production, knowing you can rely on the production, knowing that the people who are distributing it for you are going to be the right people, that you're going to have the right website. And even if it's very, very limited, I think you can begin with making something solid like that, especially in a time like now where who knows what you can do, but it's a little harder, and you're not necessarily going to be able to do it locally because maybe there won't be the same audience here, and that's just a need. But you can attract that audience from overseas with probably less than you think, because of the age of the internet and the ability to reach a lot of people. I can't remember exactly some companies I've interacted with where you have to wait. It's a matter of like finding it, and then there's a time perhaps where you have to wait. If somebody really wants the product, they'll be the right customer for you. And the days of like, yeah, I want it now. That's more mass. But look at the Birkin bag. I mean, people wait years, and they're going to pay $10,000 on top of that. So if they really want something, and they appreciate what it is, there can be a success through that. Yeah, and good luck. I hope you bring naranjilla to New York.
Hola, mucho gusto. Una pregunta. ¿De qué países o de qué mercados son los que más buscan turismo de lujo en Latinoamérica y en Ecuador?
Okay, like what countries want luxury? Oh, well, okay. I think, you're saying worldwide, I think, as I mentioned before, wealth is just increasing. There's just more and more people that have the resources now to travel. And with the internet, again, there's a lot more access. There's an ability to learn about more places. And, again, in Ecuador's favor, everybody wants to go somewhere that they haven't been or everyone else hasn't been. So Ecuador is exotic in some parts of the world. But everywhere, there's luxury travelers in every country, everywhere. You have them here in Ecuador. They exist everywhere. I think in terms of where to target, I know a lot of it depends on the product and what you want to sell and who you want to reach. But you have a really good opportunity in North America because people are looking for safer places to travel. Unfortunately, right now, Europe is not considered most desirable destination as it was maybe a couple years ago. And Asia is very far away. And the Caribbean, maybe people have been there, they're not beach people. I think that Ecuador and all of Latin America has a big opportunity with North Americans because it's relatively quick flight. And especially here, you can use the US dollar and probably fumble around in some, Spanish you learned from 7th grade and have a beautiful trip. So, I think there's luxury everywhere, but it's the luxury of what you have. Don't forget, please don't, I want to be clear, I don't want you to walk away thinking that, suddenly it has to become some, marble-covered crystal chandelier destination to be luxury. It's the exact opposite. It's what you have. It's the nature. It's the products that are beautiful to touch and feel and wear and have story behind them and have such heritage. That's the luxury. So anyone who's educated and appreciates travel and likes to discover new things would appreciate Ecuador.
We have one more question from the audience. So I was given this paper saying, under which parameters a hotel is considered luxurious?
Okay. Well, to be considered an international luxury hotel, there are certain set standards. Although this is something that still needs to be defined because, if you travel, you've probably been in certain places and you look up and you see 5 stars and you're like, that hotel is 5 stars. Every country has a little bit of a different criteria. But generally speaking, if we're talking about the larger rating organizations that are based in North America and Europe, they're going to cover the whole gamut from the location of the hotel to the installations, the room product. We're going to look at the quality of the food. And we're also going to look at the integrity of the team. How long has the team been working together? Has the general manager been working with the team for a period of time, or is it just a big turnover, and why? And then we try to look at local details as well. But ultimately, the number one factor that determines a luxury hotel is the level of service. And that is determined based on how they treat the client and the interaction of the guests with every single person, whether it be the housekeeper that's changing the room, the reception, someone who's pouring the coffee in the morning. That's where the hotels really fail inspections because they think they might have this beautiful place, and many do, and they have the high-speed internet and lots of great things. But then when you are living in the hotel, it can be challenging. And those are just the silly errors that are made that really prevent more hotels from having the true luxury identification.
Okay, so those are all the questions for this afternoon. Thank you very much, Karen, for coming.
You're very welcome. Thank you all. Thank you.
you.
Thank you to you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving this space in your busy agenda and coming
Yeah.
to
No,
our
very welcome. And
university, to
please all
this
be in touch
Congress.
with me. And I wish you all success because, you have such a great place here. You have so much you can do.
Okay, thank you very much. Para la clausura, llamamos por favor al coordinador de la Facultad de Ciencias Sociales y Jurídicas, el doctor Juan Carlos Viera, para el momento de cierre.
Buenas tardes. Recordarles a todos los estudiantes que este tipo de eventos son muy importantes en función de la participación de cada uno de ustedes. Agradecerles a cada uno de ustedes porque han hecho que este evento sea muy, muy importante. Aprovechar todas las vivencias que los profesionales nos han enseñado. Agradecer a todos los profesores que han estado muy activos, a todas las personas que han colaborado de una u otra manera en este evento. Y de parte del señor decano, Iván Martínez, dar por clausurado el segundo Congreso de Ecuador Exporta. Muchas gracias.
Les agradecemos a los docentes, por favor, si pueden acercarse un momento, los docentes de la facultad, si pueden quedarse un momento. Y a los estudiantes de la carrera de Negocios Internacionales para proceder a tomar una foto con nuestra invitada especial. Los chicos también de Negocios Internacionales pueden quedarse para una foto con nuestra invitada especial. Gracias. Chicos, los docentes. ¿Puedes poner la pantalla? Docentes, por favor, un momento para una fotografía, los necesitamos, los docentes que estén. También los estudiantes de octavo semestre, por favor, si se pueden reunir un momento para una fotografía de grupo. Y muchas gracias a todos por su participación.
Lamentablemente por este evento no he podido reunirme con Iván, pero ya le mencioné. Mañana, tranquilo.
Te llamo.